It's Friday morning and the children at this public elementary school are singing patriotic songs that honor their country's founding by freed American slaves. And as the U.S.-inspired flag is being raised, so too are hopes about how public education can be quickly and dramatically improved. These students are part of a grand experiment to see if a private, for-profit U.S.-based company can turn things around in a nation utterly destroyed by a 14-year-long civil war and a recent battle with Ebola.
The president of Liberia has called the country's education system a mess. What did she mean? Consider this statistic. In 2013, not one of 25,000 high school graduates in this country managed to pass the college entrance exam for the University of Liberia.
The experiment was designed by Education Minister George Warner, who took office 15 months ago, hired by the president, he says, to act quickly.
If we stayed the course, followed the traditional way of doing things, we would not catch up with our neighboring counterparts.
Warner had been impressed during a visit to Kenya, where the U.S. company Bridge International Academies operates more than 350 private schools. In Liberia, where average annual household income is less than $500, Warner knew most families could not afford the monthly $6 fee that Bridge charges per child in those other countries. But he had an idea.
What if we had a hybrid of public and private? There are certain things that the private sector does better than the public sector. Government can come up with the policies, but management systems and service delivery, often the private sector does better than government.
Warner hired 7 private organizations to run a total of 94 primary schools. Bridge, the only for-profit, runs 24 of them. Josh Nathan is the company's academic director.
What the government has done in Liberia, I think, is quite courageous. They have said, we're struggling with providing this basic right to children. And so what we want to do is look around, look inside Liberia and look outside Liberia at other people who are succeeding at providing children with an excellent education.
The government agreed to pay the companies directly so education remains free for families. The companies also provide uniforms, which are required at public schools and whose cost often keep many from attending. When we visited the Bridge School in Kendaja, the semester was only 2 weeks underway and many of the uniforms had not yet arrived.
Today is a wonderful day for us.
Still, Principal Magdalene Brown said the improvements were already very apparent. For one, there's a much longer school day. Last year, school started at 8:30 and ended 4 hours later.
Bridge have us come to school much earlier. Like we'll come at 7:30, and then Bridge have us stay on until 3:30 every day. That means the children will learn better.
Even the students seem to like it more, like 15-year-old Mercy Freeman.
We won't come to school on time. We sit in class.
And school actually runs like a school.
Yes.
There are also new rules like no more corporal punishment. And along with new textbooks, every teacher is given a computer tablet and is required to stick to the pre-loaded lesson plans.
And 7 ones.
Critics of this so-called school-in-a-box approach say it encourages robotic teaching and has allowed Bridge in other countries to hire cheaper, less qualified instructors. That's less of an issue in Liberia, where Bridge schools retrain existing teachers and where many had their own education disrupted by the Civil War. In this building, teachers seemed grateful for the guidance.
What do you do?
Amos Jumanine has taught for 7 years, but says he was a late bloomer.
I was 17 years when I started ABC.
You went to kindergarten learning your ABC when you were 17.
Yeah, 17, yeah. Seriously, 17.
He's hopeful the new partnership will be good for the students, but he is adamant that one thing needs to change. Teachers, he says, need to be paid more money, especially if they must work longer hours.
I can afford to buy food for myself.
Financially, it's very difficult.
Yes, financially.
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
Teachers earn about $100 a month, and many say they take second jobs to make ends meet. That contributes to one of the biggest problems in Liberia's schools, chronic teacher absenteeism.
Not only are teachers routinely absent, many really never existed, just their names on paychecks issued by the schools.
Education Minister Werner says he's purged about 1,300 so-called ghost teachers, saving $2 million that was being siphoned away in fraud.
This is a system that's really a mess.
Josh Nathan says the bridge schools use software in the teachers' tablets to track their daily attendance.
We think this is incredibly important to creating accountability and to being able to watch every single day. Where are our teachers? Are they where they need to be?
For their part, the teachers' union is strongly opposed to the partnership program. It points out that these new schools have smaller class size, around 45 to 55 pupils, and receive about $10 to $15 more per student than regular public schools. Union leaders say their teachers could get even better outcomes than Bridge if they were given that extra money and smaller classes.
If you had the right conditions and a better salary, a lot of the problem would be solved.
Yes.
And when you argued this, what were you told?
Some of the problems we are having in the ministry, they are not even listening to the teachers.
Mary Mulbaugh blames corruption at the ministry for hiring those ghost teachers and alleges the ministry is using its purges to target union activists. Emmanuel Morris, who was in a government program to train and hire new teachers, says his name was deleted.
Are you a ghost?
I'm not a ghost, and I can prove that.
They are calling you a ghost.
That's what they're saying.
And you're not a ghost.
I'm not a ghost.
Union leaders also question whether such programs could be scaled up to serve the 2,750 elementary schools across the country. Minister Werner knows there are risks, but says the government has a moral obligation to take drastic measures.
It's not a panacea, and it may just not work. But we should not just fold our arms and do nothing.
61-year-old Marie Janes couldn't agree more. She herself had to drop out of school in 4th grade. She now sells water on the side of the road to support her 3 grandchildren, their parents killed in the Civil War. Janes is convinced the new school will help her grandchildren live a better life than she's had.
What do you think your children's lives will be when they become 18 compared to yours?
What I hope for them is to go far in school, for them to know the importance of school.
The first of 3 generations in her family that might enjoy the privilege of at least a primary school education. For Religion and Ethics News Weekly, this is Fred DeSam Lazaro in Kendaja, Liberia.